For what purpose do you rise?
To debate the motion to conduct.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, what are we doing here? Rome is burning. We are on the edge of a double-dip recession. Yet we've been called back to this special session at a cost of $50,000 a day to the North Carolina taxpayer, not to improve the economy, nor even to try to alleviate the suffering of the folks down east still reeling from Hurricane Irene. Instead, we are here because some of you want to graft onto our Constitution controversial social legislation. This screams of a legislature with terribly misguided, upside-down priorities. Chiseling a ban on gay marriage and civil unions into our state constitution is wrong for a number of ideas, a number of reasons. I will discuss two. First, as Senator Kinnaird said, it hurts our economic competitiveness precisely when we should be doing everything in our power to strengthen it. Second, it disrespects our state constitution and the reasons it exists. As it relates to job creation, a constitutional ban would have precisely the opposite effect of what we all want, which is to create good-paying jobs here in North Carolina. The gay marriage ban and the ugly fight that will ensue over it will make North Carolina substantially less appealing to gay entrepreneurs, gay employees, as well as those companies that welcome a diverse workforce. Most companies don't care if their employees are male or female, black or white, gay or straight. They want the best person for that job. As a result, they want a legal climate that is not hostile to their employees. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of Chris Hughes, as Senator Kinnaird said, co-founder of Facebook, originally from Hickory, North Carolina. Quote, "As the co-founder of Facebook, I have some experience with the challenge of attracting the kind of driven, dynamic, and diverse employees it takes to build a fledgling startup into a full-fledged economic success story. Companies like Facebook, Google, and Apple are the future of our global economy. But the proposed anti-gay constitutional amendment signals to these and other major employers, as well as their mobile educated employees, that North Carolina does not welcome the diverse workforce that any state needs to compete in the international marketplace." Take the word of Anthony Pugliese, Senior Vice President of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Quote, "The proposed amendment is bad for business. It interferes with our ability to recruit talent. It is very unlikely that we would ever have relocated our global headquarters to the Triangle and hired 450 local employees in 2006 if this amendment had been law." You could also take the word of Joe DeSimone, just as Senator Kinnaird said, one of the foremost entrepreneurs in our state, joint faculty member, UNC, NC State, and a founder of Liquidia, among other companies. Or you could take the word of Hugh McCall, former CEO of Bank America. They have each made the same forceful argument about being attractive to talented workers, and that the damage to our state's image of tolerance this constitutional amendment will render. Most of us have gay neighbors, co-workers, friends, and family members. Know that if you vote for this amendment, you will cause them pain. Know that they will feel as though this state believes that they are second-class citizens. Many of them are talented professionals and entrepreneurs. People like Mitchell Gold, co-founder of Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams, and Bob Page, CEO of Replacements Limited. Those two entrepreneurs alone employ 1,000 North Carolinians, and you can be sure that every one of those employees are super grateful to have that job and could care a whit about what their employer's sexual orientation is. With the state of our economy, we do not have the luxury to make anyone feel unwelcome. We need those jobs. Today's exercise is all the more frustrating because it is utterly gratuitous. We already have a statute that bans gay marriage. To duplicate this ban into the Constitution is misguided. Constitutional conservatives know that constitutions exist for two reasons. One is to provide order and structure to government, which is exactly the amendment we passed yesterday about leadership term limits. Second, to protect the liberty of individuals and minorities from government. Statutes, on the other hand, are for more detailed matters and appropriate for many purposes, including governing the relationships among private individuals. The rules around limiting marriage are precisely the type that should be addressed by statute, which we have done, rather than the Constitution. It is not first-order matters, and constitutions are meant to protect minorities, not discriminate against them. Some of you may be torn about this vote because in your heart you believe that marriage between a man and a woman should be reserved. That's what marriage should be reserved for, only for marriages between men and women. I know that some of you believe that deep inside. You believe that a committed heterosexual relationship should be privileged over a committed homosexual one. At the same time, as a constitutional conservative, you believe we should not tamper with our Constitution without real justification, certainly not to curtail liberty. These positions are easily reconcilable. Vote against this amendment knowing that we have state law that prohibits gay marriage. Our Constitution is simply too reverential for this matter. This point is underscored by the missteps of our predecessors from this body. The instances when in North Carolina we have legislated social policy into our Constitution serve as stains on that document and on this state. In 1875, voters passed two notable amendments to the North Carolina Constitution involving social matters. The First Amendment required segregation of the races in public schools. 1875 Constitution, quote, "And the children of the white race and the children of the colored race shall be taught in separate public schools." The Second Amendment involved a marriage prohibition. All marriages between a white person and a Negro, and that's not enough, or between a white person and a person of Negro descent to the third generation inclusive, are hereby forever prohibited. The 1900 Amendment, voters adopted amendments to the franchise articles of the North Carolina Constitution. The amendments imposed a poll tax and a literacy test of all people whose grandfathers were not eligible to vote on January 1st, 1867. The grandfather clause, of course, served to permit every white male voter in North Carolina to vote, whether they could read or not, and to keep black North Carolinians from voting. Finally, in 1956, the North Carolina General Assembly put to the voters a response to Brown versus the Board of Education. 1956. The General Assembly may provide for payment of education expense grants for the private education of a child who is assigned against the wishes of his parents to a public school attended by a child of another race. That was only 50 years ago, people. And by the way, that school segregation amendment passed with 82% of the vote. This is the unfortunate history of social issues in our Constitution. None has stood the test of time. With the benefit of historical perspectivists, none of us here would have voted in favor of these amendments if they were before us today. This begs the question we must ask ourselves before we vote on this amendment to put into our state constitution a ban on gay marriage and civil unions. How will the votes we cast today be seen through the lens of time? How will history remember this day?